How's it going? I'm Ben Coley. I'm a radio presenter. You may have heard me popping up on the likes of Absolute Radio. I'm a podcast host, and I'm here with the infinitely talented Tom Penny. Tom, how are you, mate? You all good?
I'm very good. You're too kind. Thank you. But yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. It's so nice to be with you in this amazing space. And I want to start with saying huge congratulations on the new album that's out. I know from first-hand experience just how much work goes into putting out a body of work, not just an EP, but an LP.
Yeah,
crazy.
Heaps of work, man.
How does it feel to have it out? Because it is this thing that you have ownership over, and then you're putting it out into the world. How does it feel that it's fine?
But like the whole past year, it's very much been get the details correct, get the mixes right, get the effects on there. Do you know what I mean? And just making sure it is perfect. So it's something that I've been pushing for the past at least 2 years. And to have it out is actually quite a surreal feeling. I was up late last night till like midnight. Do you know what it is when it's on Spotify? You know, you play it through.
Just wait to make sure it actually goes out.
Yeah. And then I can go to sleep. But no, it's nice. And then everyone's messaging me this morning like, yo, this is actually amazing. And all these people that, like, I've not spoken to them in so long, and they're like, yo, you're actually quite good at this. Do you know what I mean? And
you're actually really talented. you can really rap.
But people really enjoy it, and it's only been out for half a day, so I'm hoping to get a few more people listening, but everyone's really enjoying it so far.
So your album, at the time of recording this, has been out in less than 24 hours. It's called Both Sides of the Coin. What does it represent to you? What snapshot is it taking of this moment in time for you?
It come at a really important time, because by the time I just finished writing, or I was writing, it was sort of the end of the whole COVID era. Everyone's mental health was a bit dodgy, you know, especially at the end of that time. And it was a real reflection on how my relationship with myself affected those relationships around me. So like if I'm not good with me, and if I'm, you know, hear the album, you'll do whatever, but if I'm abusing certain things, or if I'm not confident in this relationship here, that's going to affect how I am in all sorts of ways. It's going to be, I'm less creative, I'm less this, that, the other. And it's just a big exploration of how things are so finely connected. And I think that was so important at the time to then progress in my life and be able to put out music. Do you know what I mean? So that's what it really means to me, is the connectivity of everything.
I've stopped all the lust for destructive reactions.
Yes.
Entrusting the love she gave me is enough when I speak. Best believe I'm not speaking with captions.
For sure.
Talk to me about that song. Talk to me about those lyrics.
The lyrics
I was listening to it and I had chills. I really did. It was quite something.
That lyric, I might need to hear that one more time, but that lyric is so important to me because I feel like that encapsulates the whole idea of my relationship with myself affecting those around me. So stopped all the lust for destructive reactions. You know, there's songs like cigarettes and whiskey. I love those things, but they're not good for you, are they? And then it comes to moments like this, and I think in another song I say like, oh, I'm flushing out my arteries, so you can see how the narrative goes there. And just that putting the sort of final nail in the coffin, you know, there's this woman, you know, my mother, who has been hugely influential throughout my life, and now she's suffering illnesses. I got to step up. Okay, cool. These relationships I've got with these other things, they can't allow me to affect this one. I've got to sort that out. I've got to be better. I've got to be the person she needs me to be at this point. And it's not just me, it's the rest of my family too, you know, things like this. So I'm trying to remember that last lyric. When I speak, I'm not speaking with captions. It's like, okay, I've done this for me. I'm doing this for us. It's like almost own your mistakes in a way and really make sure that what I'm saying, I'm not speaking with captions, is just, you're going to hear me when I talk. You don't need subtitles. Pay attention. What I mean, I'm going to say it once, you listen. That kind of vibe, if that makes sense. So I think those lyrics were really powerful to write. I think the whole song was powerful to write, to be totally honest. But
it's powerful to listen to, mate. I mean, it's a stunning listen. When did you first get infatuated with lyricism? When did you first pick up a mic and discover this gift that you've got?
Okay. The first time like I fell in love with hip hop, it was Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City.
Yes.
And because how old would I have been? That was 2012 it came out. I would have been 14. Now, I love music. I play piano from a young age, things like this. But that album was really where I found like, oh my God, this, because he tells a crazy story in it. Do you know what I mean? This story is incredible. And that really did something to me. And then I fell in love with hip hop from there and just went through the motions of discovering new artists through that project. And then I was 16, I believe. Me and my friends used to, you know how you are when you're 16, you're getting high, you're chilling, you're whatever it might have been. And then we just started to freestyle to each other. We'd put on beats. And it actually wasn't anything special at first. You know what I mean? Some of my other friends were far better than me, but it was just fun. And I think that was the essence of it. That was what captured me. It was really fun. And then I found that, oh, okay, hold on. I am going for a bit of a tough situation. Let me write something about it. See what my friends think when I spit this over this beat or something. And then you get good reactions there. And that's sort of where I discovered, oh, I'm actually not too bad at this, you know, rap thing. And then, yeah, we go from there. And then I think, if I remember correctly, 2021, I had my first song come out. So quite a lot of years between there, but that was where, I think we spoke about this beforehand, a little before the cameras were on, but that was where when I left the studio recording for that session, I was like, boom, okay, this is what I want to do. Being in there, recording my songs and making this a legit piece of work. For me, that was it. Like, that was the moment.
So what are you working on right now? Because it's never just a case of you put an album out, you chill out for a few weeks, you know, you're always creating something.
Well, what I'm working on, other than the promotion of this album and performing this album and making sure that this really sits with people, I'm working on another project. So Wasted Days Part 2. There was a Part 1. Oh my, what day are we on? It was the end of last year, 2023, December, I think that came out. So hopefully we can get another one this December. That's currently the plan. We've got some really exciting stuff, some features that I don't think I've worked with this style of music before. I don't want to say too much because I don't know, Katie might be a bit angry at me, but yeah, we've got some really exciting features planned, some really nice instrumentals, a lot softer, or some of them are way bigger as well. I feel like we just take it to the extremes on Wasted Days Part 2, which I'm super excited for.
That sounds really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And what made you want to revisit Wasted Days? Were there some loose ends that you felt like you hadn't tied up thematically in Wasted Days in that first album? Was there some lyrical themes you wanted to touch on again? What was it that made you go back to that?
I love Wasted Days because it's freedom for me. It's not just a collection of thoughts over different experimental beats to sort of broaden my horizons. And it's just super fun to work on these things because I did the first one whilst I was living out of a car at the time. So I was just making beats on my laptop and it was just fun. And I think, like I said, you know, when I first started out freestyling and stuff, like that fun, that really is what draws me to making this kind of music. So I love doing the Wasted Days stuff. And I'm hoping to turn it into a little series as I could progress through the career. But Part 2 is definitely encapsulating that, working with different artists and using different styles of instrumentals. That's why I love the Wasted Days stuff.
Fantastic. In the past 4 years, you've put together an EP, you've put together 3 albums, you've put out 4 larger bodies of work. What's the main thing you've learned about crafting an EP or crafting an album in that time? Because you've had plenty of practice at it in the past 4 years.
I think it's all, for me, about storytelling. And the better you are at storytelling, the better your album's going to sound. Because an album, where did I hear this? It was on a podcast, the Ramesh Raghunathan podcast, Hip Hop Saved My Life. I can't remember who he was talking to, but they said an album is like a window into somebody's life. Do you know what I mean? And I think hearing that when you craft your albums, it's really important to make sure that you are explaining yourself or you have got that narrative going through it and that you are just making sure that it's cohesive. So in terms of what I've learned, it's just how to make myself more consistent throughout the project. Like if I listen to some of my earlier stuff, which I still would say listen to, there's moments where I'm like, I could do that track a bit better now. Or maybe that track actually isn't what, I don't know.
You're your own biggest critic.
Exactly. But now when I release this one, I'm so, yeah, everything fits. Everything's perfect. This is boom, 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 boom. And it's like, that's the biggest, I think, lesson that I've learned is to be more consistent throughout the track list and make sure that every song has its place. I think that's so important.
You mentioned Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar, which was a huge entry point into hip hop for you. Who else do you listen to currently that really inspires you when you're not only coming up with your own rhymes, but, you know, when you're putting beats together as well when you're producing?
Production, oh my goodness, Kanye was a massive influence. like, you know, I'm sure there's not a producer out there that says he's not an influence. Do you know what I mean? But I love what he does with the big soul chops and things. And yeah, he was a huge influence with production. But I think also lyric wise or song structure wise, or maybe not structure, but song writing, people like Loyal Kana, people like Frankie Stew, Harvey Gunn, people like Manic MC, Kofi Stone, that more jazzy side of UK hip hop. Not necessarily, like, I love all forms of rap, you know, I feel like it's a passion of mine. But in the UK, you've got a lot of like drill and stuff going on. And there's all these bigger mainstream artists that are amazing. But for me, the jazzy stuff, the soulful stuff, the stuff that I can really connect to emotionally, that's the stuff that drives me. So yeah, the artists I just mentioned, they're the ones.
Who have you collaborated with on this latest album to achieve some of those soulful sounds? Has it been a complete solo venture? Have you drafted in some other people to achieve that vision that you're after? Well,
there's features on the project. You've got, I'll say their stage names. You've got PR1, King, J48, music on the Fire song. That was so much fun because it was an opportunity to just get loads of rappers on one song. And like, I feel like when you have those sort of songs, the energy's there, you know, everyone's having a great time and they're always really fun to listen to. I have my friend, JCM, we'll say, he was on Lost at Sea. He plays the saxophone, and that was my first time with a live instrument recording with my microphone. And that was so much fun because, I don't know, new challenges or whatever. But having the saxophone player, I think, just added so much to the song. And then we had Tanya Matthews perform on both sides of the coin. She's the singer there. So they were the features that I worked with, feature artist. But just behind the scenes, I feel like loads of people have helped me, like just friends that I meet throughout the way. Like I used to take my laptop into work and make beats in the office whilst I was supposed to be doing other things. And then just like some people I worked with will come on, and one of them was a producer himself and he put the trumpets down on Cigarettes and Whiskey. So just little things like this, like you meet people and they just put their little sprinkle on it, things like that. So they'll be in the credits somewhere.
That's a gorgeous way of putting it as well. You know, you go along this journey of making the projects and someone just comes on with sprinkles.
For sure.
A bit of something, a bit of magic,
life,
a bit of personality into a song. That makes it really exciting. When did you first get into producing beats? Was that the same time that you first started rapping?
That sort of comes in stages. Like I played the piano from quite young. And then I feel like for that first project I mentioned, I was going to work with other producers because I don't know the first thing about making beats at the time. I was like, cool, drums, yeah, put them in, piano, cool, whatever. And I was going to work with some other people. And I remember reaching out on Instagram and things, and they would come back to me and they're like, I can't do this right now. Like, you know, you've got nothing out that I've heard already. People didn't want to work with me. I was like, I don't know what it was, but I thought, right, okay, if I can't get it with you, I'm going to teach myself. So I had my laptop, downloaded Logic, and then hooked up with this producer who was, he does like EDM stuff, but he's so helpful. He basically just showed me all the tools in Logic, and then I went from there. You know, so it was learning how to take, he told me about reverb and compression and all of these different tools. Okay, how can I put my spin on that? How can I put my things in? And then that's when I discovered I love to sample, because I can take this clip of audio here and I can just do all sorts of crazy things to it with all these tools I've just learned. Yeah. And that was around 2020, I think it was actually when I first started doing that, or 2021, early 21. I think I started to dabble in the production side of things, and I think we had the album out 2022 that came out.
What for you makes the perfect, if there is such a thing, the perfect beat?
Emotion makes the perfect beat, because there's no one sound that is perfect, but if you can make a beat that speaks with emotions without having to use any words, that's the one. Do you know what I mean? Then that sparked my thought to write the song on it. Or if I've got an emotion I'm already trying to write about, and then I make the beat to that, it has to speak to it. And I think emotion is what drives music as a whole. So the beat has to have that.
And that's what I hear loads in your new album. I mean, the beats, you straddle this really nice line because there's emotion, there's detail in the beats, but also it's not too busy. There's enough space for you to assert yourself, for you to get the lyrics across, which is important. So, I mean, kudos to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
How long would you spend on making a typical beat? Is it like songwriting, for instance, where, you know, a song might appear in 5 minutes, or you might spend weeks trying to finesse this particular
You've answered it for me, man. It's the exact same.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just comes to you and it's like, oh, put this drum on and then put this trumpet in here. This piano is going to sound cool. And sometimes it's, I like this, but what can I do to it? Because everything I've tried sucks. It's like the amount of beats you make and then you delete them. And so it really is variable. Do you know what I mean? But look, that's the game. That's the one, isn't it?
That is for sure. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've come across so far in your career? Because, you know, it'd be very easy for us to sit here and say, oh, you know, it's all rosy, but it's really difficult as an emerging artist in what is notoriously such a difficult industry. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've come across so far, and how have you overcome them?
That's such a big question. My biggest challenges, I would have to say, just logistics. Like logistics is so tough sometimes. Trying to organize myself. I get distracted so easily. So I might make a beat and then forget about it. And then I start crafting a project and I'm like, oh, that fits in there. Or like I've got multiple on the go. Oh, it fits over there, fits over there. So I think the biggest challenge is actually just finding the time to make sure what I'm doing resonates within me. Like the studio was a challenge at first. But once I got in there and you start doing it, you love it, and boom, not a challenge anymore. Mixing is still a challenge for me, huge challenge. Like I'm trying to learn so much, and I feel like it takes so many years to even just get good at it. Like I put a lot of time in trying to learn how to mix. I got some great people teaching me, but that's definitely a challenge. And then when you have deadlines to work towards, and you know, just life sort of takes control sometimes. So finding that balance. Man, there's so many challenges, but yeah, finding the balance between trying to put on all of the stuff I'm trying to put on and create and live and just have like a normal life too, you know, build relationships with people that have nothing to do with music. I think so important. That's probably the biggest challenge, actually, the balance. But yeah, there's heaps of challenges. Performing for the first time, I was terrified. Like I was at an open mic in Australia, and it was this little pub. I say little, it was quite big actually. And there was heaps of people there, and there's a lot of country music going on, a lot of like it was guitars and things like this, singers. Then I come up like, right, I'm going to rap for you.
Rap.
Yeah. And I saw a couple people's heads turn like, who is this guy? Like, you know, but I got into it and people loved it. There was filming me, everything was going on. But like, I forgot the start of my second verse. So the very first time I'm performing, I forget a lyric and I'm like, oh no, like I freeze up a little bit. But luckily, my friends were all there. So it was kind of like, okay, cool. We'll start again. Well, you know, they made the atmosphere nice for me, which was really nice of them. But performing was huge for me to get over. Now I really like it. Like now I've had some practice. It's good fun.
It's again, like you say, it's practice. You know, it's kind of flexing that muscle, isn't it? And just doing it enough times so that what was a scary scenario, you kind of brush over that and it's fine.
I mean, I've done it now. I've forgotten lyrics on stage and people didn't laugh. Well, at first. They all laughed at me afterwards, best believe. But yeah, that and the balance and everything, there's heaps of challenges that come with it. And I think you just have to love what you do enough to push through and to kind of make sure that, it, you know, you are making a good product and it's not just something that gets pushed away.
Do you find social media a challenge?
Big time. Oh my goodness.
Really?
How did I not mention that?
That surprises me because...
Really?
Through watching you on TikTok,
no,
mate, you have such a natural way of presenting yourself on TikTok. And I don't know if you think that or not, but I really think that. I saw a video of you and you were abroad, you were on your travels.
Right, okay.
And you had a microphone hanging down from a tree.
Yeah, what a video.
And you were stood there just rapping into this microphone in the outback.
Yeah.
With this dangling microphone. And I was like... It's so simple, but it's so effective, and it just felt so fly on the wall. So how considered is that? Is that something that you have to really kind of push yourself to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of takes. I'm rubbish on camera. I'm surprised this is actually going as smooth as it is. That video actually is really funny just because if you look in the bottom left corner of it, that microphone, I didn't realize this at the time, is plugged into nothing, and you can see that the USB bit is just hanging there. But I think with social media, it's one of them things where, again, practice. You have to get used to it. And I take so many takes when you see these videos. Like I had my ex-girlfriend now, but she was filming that one. And there's so many times where, you know, there's actually a clip, I'll see if I can find it after this to show you. A fly goes into my mouth at one point while I was filming that.
Nightmare.
And like I'm coughing up and it's all, I don't know, man. Social media is a challenge. I find when I'm recording myself, it's hard to not cringe out a little bit. But, you know, you have to do it as part of the game and you know, it goes out there and it looks natural to other people. So there's a million different takes of things, but as long as it gets out there and it looks good, like that's the one.
You mentioned before we sat here, you were away for like a year or something like that, and you were in Australia, you were in Indonesia. Talk to me about
It will say something interesting to you and you'll be like, oh, that's a new perspective I've not heard before. That could make a really cool angle on this song for another verse or whatever it might be. But I think just having the freedom to go and explore and just be a part of something bigger than yourself and your community and your music. Like you go to these places and some of them, they never even heard of hip hop. In some places, they're so in their own bubble and they're so inspiring, and you meet all these different people that are so kind and nice, and man, I love to travel.
Was there a particular time that you can think of where you introduced someone to hip hop? You mentioned you've been to communities where people haven't heard of hip hop before.
Oh, well, give or take. Like, you know, the people I talk to may not have, you know, but I'm sure someone there has. But, you know, there's people that don't listen to all sorts of things. But there's definitely been people I've met that I've put onto, like, my influences, Lil Kana, Frankie Stew. You know, I met some really good people that I've put onto that kind of music and they love it. And alternatively, they've put me onto that kind of music and I love it. And I think that's one of the best things about meeting new people from corners of the world you'd never expect it to be in.
Absolutely. When we were chatting earlier, you said to me, I've just put out this new album. I'm really happy with it. I'm working hard on it. And I really want something to happen. What is that something? What would you like to happen? Where would you like your music to go? Whose ears would you like it to reach?
Question.
Big question.
I would like it to, I don't think there's a specific person I can name whose ears I'd like it to reach, but I'd like it to reach the right community, the people that appreciate it for what it is. Do you know what I mean? The people that listen and go, I love this. The way that I listen and I go, I love this. They're the people I want to hit with the album. They're the people I want to perform in front of. They're the people I want to make the merch for. They're the people I want to just show my gratitude towards, because I can't name them. I can't even tell you what they look like, but they're there because there's a few of them already in my followings and fan base. And I think it's room to grow. And as many people as I can and make my music for, as well as myself, the better it's going to be. So when I say I want something to happen, I just want to connect with people. That's what music is, isn't it? I want to connect with as many people as I can, learn from them, and they could learn from me, and keep that cycle of creativity rolling. That's what I'd love.